Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really powerful idea, the quiet and, let's face it, often misunderstood strength of introverts. If you've ever felt like the world is just built for the loud and the bold, well, this explainer is for you. So let's just start with a question that might hit pretty close to home for a lot of you. It's that one little piece of feedback, right? The one that can follow you from kindergarten all the way to your career. And there it is. The classic. It's almost always meant to be helpful, but it so often misses the point entirely. It's kind of like telling a turtle that its shell is the problem. And that is the big idea right there. What if we've had it all backwards? Today, we're going to explore how that very thing our culture often sees as a weakness is actually a source of incredible, world-changing strength. Okay, first things first. To really get this power, we have to understand the world we're all living in. We need to look at how our modern culture ended up with such a huge and often subconscious bias for one personality type. Wow, this quote really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? This isn't just about what you prefer socially. It's about that deep psychic pain, that feeling like you're a letdown just for being you. That's the kind of thing that can stick with a person for their entire life. The source material actually gives this a name. It calls it the extrovert ideal. You can think of it like an invisible measuring stick that we're all held up against. It's this pervasive cultural idea that to be, well, ideal, you have to be that gregarious alpha person who's totally comfortable in the spotlight. So how did we even get here? I mean, it wasn't always this way. Back in the 19th century, society was all about a culture of character. What mattered was your integrity, your honor. But then, in the 20th century, something shifted. We moved into a culture of personality. As people flooded into cities and started working for huge corporations, suddenly the focus wasn't on who you were, but on how you came across. Charm and charisma became the new currency. All right, so now that we've seen how our culture got kind of bent out of shape, let's set the record straight. It's time to talk about what introversion really is, and just as importantly, what it isn't, by busting some of the biggest myths out there. Okay, this is the single most important distinction we need to make. Introversion is not shyness. Let me say that again, it's not the same thing. Introversion is just a preference for environments that aren't overstimulating. Shyness? That's the fear of being judged. They're two completely different things. You can be a super confident introvert, think Bill Gates, or a shy extrovert, like Barbra Streisand. You see, it's not a flaw, it's a temperament. Just look at these hallmarks. Do any of them sound familiar to you? These aren't bad things. They're just preferences for a different way of moving through the world, one that often values depth over, say, breadth. And hey, this isn't just about feelings or psychology. It's baked into our biology. The famous research by Dr. Jerome Kagan showed that you can actually spot these tendencies in infants. He found that babies who were high reactive, the ones who got really worked up by new things like a popping balloon, were much more likely to grow up to be quiet, introverted teenagers. So it really all boils down to finding your just right level of stimulation. It's not that introverts are antisocial. It's just that their nervous systems get dialed up to 11 much more easily. So quieter settings feel, well, they feel right. Extroverts, they're the opposite. They're easily under-aroused. So they're the ones looking for the buzz of a party to feel that same just right Goldilocks feeling. And this is where things get really cool. Because once you stop looking at introversion like it's some kind of problem, you can finally see it for what it is, a source of some really unique and powerful strengths. Think about leadership. We usually imagine these big, charismatic speakers, right? But take someone like Rosa Parks. People who knew her described her as soft-spoken, even shy, but they also said she had the courage of a lion. Her world-changing power wasn't about how loud she was. It was in her quiet, unshakable conviction. And what about creativity? We are obsessed with open-plan offices and constant teamwork, an idea the source calls the new groupthink. The assumption is that creativity has to be social. But guess what? The research says something completely different. In fact, you look at 40 years of research, and it says the same thing over and over again. Individuals working alone consistently produce more ideas and higher quality ideas than when they're brainstorming in a group. Turns out, solitude is actually a key ingredient for innovation. And this goes all the way to the top, right into the boardroom. Just like Jim Collins wrote in his famous book, The Best Leaders, they're not the ones building up their own egos. His research found that the most transformative CEOs were rarely those flashy, charismatic types. They were the quiet, humble ones. the ones with intense professional will. A classic introvert superpower. This quiet power is also a secret weapon when it comes to making big decisions. Introverts tend to be less seduced by the buzz of a huge potential reward, which makes them better at spotting risks. Just think about Warren Buffett's careful, analytical style, and compare that to the dopamine-fueled herd mentality that can lead to huge market crashes. So, the big question is, what do we do with all this? How can you actually harness these strengths when you're living in a world that's basically built for extroverts? This final section gives us a really practical game plan. The answer is in this fantastic idea called free trait theory. And it's pretty simple, really. The idea is that, yeah, you have a natural temperament, but you're not a prisoner to it. When something is really, truly important to you, what the theory calls a core personal project, you can actually act out of character to get it done. And here's the playbook. Step 1, figure out what you truly care about. Step 2, stretch yourself. Act more extroverted, but do it wisely, only when it serves that core project. And 3, and this is the most important part, you absolutely must build in time to recharge and get back to being your true self. That third step is all about creating what are called restorative niches. This isn't about hiding away. It's about strategic recovery. It could be as simple as closing your office door, or taking a quiet walk at lunch, or finding a quiet corner at a loud party. These are the little sanctuaries you build into your life to honor your temperament so you have the energy to stretch when it really matters. So what does this number really mean? It means at least 1 out of every 3 people you know is an introvert. This isn't some fringe group. This is a huge chunk of the population. Understanding this dynamic is about understanding our coworkers, our friends, our family, and maybe even ourselves. We need the power of both temperaments to have a truly balanced and successful world. And the source leaves us with this final, beautiful thought. The secret isn't forcing everyone to stand in the same Broadway spotlight. It's about each of us finding the lighting where we shine the brightest. Understanding your temperament isn't about putting yourself in a box. It's about giving yourself permission to go out and find your own perfect light.